to take some notes and to we'll put the video up later as well.
Oh man, so I get to hear my voice back.
Only if you want to listen to it.
Oh
I
no, it's
always find it
hilarious.
I find it bizarre listening back to yourself. So yeah. All right. Well, it's just gone 12 o'clock. So we might kick it off. Welcome everyone who's here today for the next episode of Points, Lines and Polygons. Our special guest today, Lizanne Wilmot, and we'll delve into Lizanne's career and hobbies and whatever else we get into talk to. Just a bit of housekeeping. First off, if you're joining live, just stay on mute for now. But if you have a question at any point, just put it in the chat and we'll have a question and answer session at the end. All right. So thank you, Lizanne. So let's I guess go back as far as you want. What interested you to get into GIS and spatial sciences? Was it way back in your uni days, the degree that you did, or was it somewhere else along the path?
Oh, how far back do you want to go? Because if you want to go really far back, so it all starts with let's go 7-year-old me in the back of the car. My mom would pass me like the local like street directory, give me a street name, and I'd look it up in the back and like give directions. And this was before GPS, so I'd make funny voices and do the in 200 meters turn now kind of thing. And little did I know that was going to be coming up in the future. Um, but no, GIS kind of was an accident for me. So I've always been interested in mapping. So me in the back of the car with a map was always a thing. So even on long ones, I'd have a great big like fold out this thing that I'd like put down. And the Ontario maps, because I'm Canadian originally, they'd have these little segments, and each segment would have like a kilometer count. So I'd be working at the speed that we were traveling, what the speed limit was, how many kilometers we had, and I'd literally to the minute like calculate how long until the next break. So that was the activity to keep me busy in the back of the car instead of going, "Are we there yet?" Um, and then at uni, I studied agriculture, so I was doing land and water science at City University. And yeah, it wasn't until my third year that a GIS course was there. And I was taking it and wasn't really on the top of my to-do list. And then in my fourth year, when it came to like choosing the honors theses, there was one that involved like gully erosion. I was really interested in like the soil erosion and the management of that. And it had a spatial component to it. So I ended up doing analyzing gully erosion through, I guess, satellite imagery and old aerial imagery. And then, from there, I guess my next full-time job was actually my supervisor had passed on my thesis data to the Sydney Catchment Authority. And when I walked into the interview, I brought my thesis with me and I'm like, hey, this is in the Sydney drinking water catchment, it'll interest you. And the guy interviewing me was just like, oh, that's your data. So basically,
That's a good way to get a job. So
yeah, so they'd used my data as like a pilot program to get the funding to basically get a job there. And I'm like, yes, didn't know it at the time, but yeah.
Well, I mean, that's a perfect example of, using what you've done at university to your advantage. There's a lot of people that I speak to, when they're putting their resume together and they almost ignore what they did at university or during their studies. But it's really valuable experience, both in getting that theory, but also the practical side of implementing something like you did with your thesis and stuff like that. So was that was still back in Canada?
I know this was in Australia.
Oh,
So,
okay, yep.
yeah, I'm Canadian originally, but I turned 18 and basically went, see ya, to my parents. As much as I loved that they instilled mapping in me, I needed to see the world. So I got out, got into university in Australia, and I've just never actually been home since.
And um, so so that first job or the thesis led you to that first job with the Water Catchment Authority. Um, and and so where did you go from there, or what did you use in your career from there?
So it was actually my second job. So it was my first, I guess, real job. So when I finished university, anyone who's ever been through it, Australian immigration, it is so much fun. I was on bridging visa B for nearly 4 years. So I was actually I say data monkey. I was working for Census, so Telstra, and it was back to my old transport routes. I was using Nearmap because it was free back then to put in all the roads, the turn signals, the different lanes into that, and it was data entry. Like it was brainless work, and my God, it hurts, but it tickled that part of my brain where it was just like doing something constant and like just you'd sit down and you'd almost meditate. So it was stressful because I was in limbo, but it was a good job to kind of just like sit and yeah, work out the rest of life.
Right, yep.
Yeah, but with the Sydney Catchment Authority, like when I got in there, it was a similar thing. So the gully erosion stuff that I was doing, it initially started by digitizing. So I had this stereo imagery that I was looking at, and I was mapping the center lines of all the gullies because we needed to know how many gullies we had, how deep they were, like what the extent was, whether or not they were still like eroding. So I was manually putting in the vertices and lines and just like back to the just like point and click,
Yeah.
like yeah. And from there, it then was like, hey, do you want to do the hydro modeling for this? And I'm like, I've never done hydro modeling, sure.
I'll
And
give it a go.
yeah, learned ArcHydro to actually do the drainage stuff. And then from there, it's like, we need to make this into a map. And initially it was, oh my God. It was a dynamic map. So it was using Adobe and it was one of those like PDFs that people could turn like on and off layers. And it was the
Oh, yep,
worst
yep,
map I've ever made. Like the technology, but it was easy for them to share. And
yep.
yeah, they could pass it around, give it to emails, and then it's probably 2 or 3 years later, we moved from GeoCortex into the Esri suite, which made web apps and web maps that much easier. And next thing I know, I'm just like producing these like just top quality maps and apps and telling people share the URL instead.
Yep.
And for years, that PDF would haunt me, and people were like, hey, do you still have that PDF? And I'm like, web map.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah,
Here's the way of the future. Yes. Yeah. And it certainly opens up so much more when you've got that, the way that technology has changed. And I do remember, a similar thing where for a local council where I was hired to um, produce. They had a tender to mow the verges and stuff around the council area, and there was something like 40 maps that needed to be produced, and they wanted me to produce the 40 maps, and I went, yep, that's fine, I can do that. But I said, well, why don't we turn the tender into a web app, and we used story maps and embedded these dynamic maps into that, so they could then rather than printing each time, because there was 40 maps, but there was probably 100 pages of things that they were having to print. And so, yeah, that was a good use of technology, and it certainly sounds like that changed your PDF to being more web map oriented.
yeah, similar things like whenever there'd be a major rain event or a water quality event in the catchment, I used to have to go to the plotter and just like do the max spec of just like
Yeah,
this little area so that people could almost like manually zoom in and out. And then they were using almost crayons to like write on the stuff. And eventually it was just like, hey, I can put this up in like 5 minutes. Like, I know it's an emergency and you want it printed so you can do it in crayons, but how about I do a 5 minute app and I give you the options to actually like put annotation on there. And it took a few, I guess, events for people to actually go, hey, this is easier. Because post events, it was easier to go back and instead of like getting the transcribed notes, you could just use what was already there and like export the Excel file. And
Yeah.
like, I really do feel like my career, because it's been about 15 years now, has spanned all the way from like early Esri to just like these whiz bang, like, oh my God, this is amazing kind of technology.
Yeah, and so many organizations now are opening their data up so you can, add layers from all these different organizations. And I mean, there's some pros and cons to relying on other organizations, but it certainly makes um, pulling those things together, especially in an emergency type situation, so much more efficient, and able to tweak it on the fly. I think that's the advantage of, the technology these days is it's very easy to redo something or add an extra layer or, make it a different area or whatever it happens to be.
Yeah, and it also, if you've got a web map or a web app that people can pan and zoom on, it stops you from your client coming back and saying, hey, could you just like shift it over a little bit and print it off again? It's just like, yeah, it's so much easier for them to self-serve. And it means that you get to do the cool stuff. You continue to learn, you make something better. And yeah, whoever's using your stuff can self-serve and it frees you up to, yeah,
Yeah,
do the cool stuff.
yeah. And it is amazing how many times um, that a client will want something just over the edge of a printed map or just on the, that border. It's like, oh, yeah, you know. So yeah, so I do agree, and I do fully embrace, that sort of web map technology now in terms of, it just makes things so much more interactive. And people can see the potential of it, um, and and yeah, it I think that's taken it from being, a cartographic map to a an interactive product that you can now use for whatever reason you need to use it. So yeah, so from there with the water authority, where did you go from there?
Yeah, so I've recently, so just before Christmas, took a redundancy package. So I bought a place in Sydney and decided to do some renos. So the redundancy package was just like, yep, I'll take that. And I was planning on just having a bit of vacation. Like I do a lot of bike riding, so I was bike riding around, and a position in my local council came up, and it's across the road from my place. So I was just like, wasn't looking for a job, and I'm like, you know what? I'll put in, see how I go. And yeah, went away on a bike packing trip for a few weeks, and I came back and basically sat at the council. So
Nice.
yeah, it's if you've got skills, it's needed everywhere. So spatial is definitely one of those industries where if you know what you're doing and you're keeping up with technology, it's easy to kind of just like move from one organization to another.
Yep. Yeah, and it is one of those things that, yeah, not just one organization, but one country or, one state or, because the software or the structure behind, what GIS does is the same, whether it's in Australia, in the US, or in Tasmania or New South Wales. It doesn't matter. And that's the really good thing about it is when I speak to a lot of candidates who are, thinking about going and working somewhere overseas, it 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 opens up because you're not like as an example, I have my youngest daughter is a lawyer. So if she wanted to go and study law in even in New Zealand, um, she would have to resit the legal exam over there because the laws are slightly different and all that sort of stuff. Whereas, you don't need to do that with GIS. You can just pick it up and, go and or do it remotely. These days it's so easy to do those projects. Um, and so what's your role now at the council? Typically councils don't have huge GIS teams, what's the structure like there?
Um, yeah, so the structure that we have, we're actually, oh man, I've got mild flashbacks. We're upgrading our enterprise. So a lot of our stuff is on AGOL right now. So we're yeah, upgrading to enterprise 12, maybe 12.1 from 10.8, which that is a huge jump. Like I did
Yep.
10.8 to 11.2 about a year ago, and this is why I've got flashbacks because that was a huge jump. Um, the bonus that we have is all our stuff is hosted on AGOL, so to actually get it on Enterprise, instead of us trying to transfer everything across, it's republishing everything, which is great because we get to almost start from scratch with all the symbology, all the metadata, all those back to the not quite pointing and clicking the vertices, but the really tedious things that tickle my like meditation side of the brain. So
Yep, yep.
looking
Nice.
forward to that. But yeah, right now I'm basically gun for hire. So it's whatever comes across the board. So I've made a few new custom layers for a couple other teams. I've started a process to, I guess, get a new public-facing web map out there. I'm debugging an integrity check. So I mentioned that I was doing a bit of Python scripting in the interview. And yeah, my manager's just like, oh, do you think you can do this? And I'm looking at it just going, that was written by Esri. So I'm, yeah, currently debugging that and yeah, working my way through. And um, yeah, the Python notebooks. So it's a new skill altogether, and it's really quite intuitive in Esri. So I've been enjoying the learning process and just like nutting into it and just like working out what's actually happening. And so it's a hodgepodge of a little bit of everything, and I love the variety.
And I think that's one of the big things about councils is that variety, because once like councils do so much, so many different things, rates and dogs and trees and you name it at a local level, a council probably rubbish collection, and it so it's the few roles I've had in councils, they've been so diverse in terms of, once again, yes, it's GIS related, but it's diverse in the data type and the use of it, and who's using it, whether it's public facing or the councils themselves, or so it's I do think councils can often be underrated for building skills, and having a real impact, I think, especially from a GIS level.
Yeah, because my skills, like it's not just environmental anymore. So I'm looking at the environments, I'm looking at assets. So I am looking at waste. Like that was one of my first projects was like working at the waste maps. Um, yeah, I'm looking at property. It's just development applications. Like there's so many different ways that GIS gets used. And it's an advantage of GIS because if you know how to use the program, it's just same skills, different data.
Yep. Yeah, nice. All right, so that really, from a career point of view, that brings you pretty well to current day. But I do know that you take your GIS out into the field, and literally, I guess. So talk us through, um, you know, your cycling journeys and how you then integrated GIS with those.
Yeah, so I've always ridden a bike, and this goes back to my mapping. So every time I go to a new city, I pull out the map and I map new routes and I work out where I'm going. And I've got Strava just so I can see my global heat map and like see where I've been all over the world. And uh, yeah, mapping the bike riding's always been something that I've been doing. And I used to be a professional track cyclist. So a lot of the areas around the world are just like me going around in circles or just going from like the hotel to the velodrome. And yeah, I've got that many like little outdoor donuts around the world. And I love seeing them because I've done that many laps that they just like light up. And more recently, I've been getting into bike packing. And before I got made redundant from work, I got just a student account from Esri because I'm like, if I'm going to lose Esri, I need my mapping skills. So yeah, I got one of the student accounts, and when I first looked into it, I'm like, geez, this is affordable. So I'm not hired by Esri. I've just sipped the Kool-Aid a little bit too much. But yeah, I love having the personal account because it means I get the latest and greatest. And from there, I've actually taken my cycling maps and used it as a learning experience. So every time I do a new map, I make a story map. I update a experience builder page. I put the routes in. I put the route notes. I've got photos. I've got directions. I've been using, I guess, my Python skills in the background to get everything like running not quite automated, so I need to spend a little bit more time on that. But yeah, I've done things behind the scenes so that it makes my life easier. And having my own personal account just means that I can test things on the weekend, like the nerd that I am, and stay on top of everything. And one of the biggest, I guess, challenges that I found is I'm used to making all these web apps for people who use PCs and laptops. So my biggest challenge before used to be instead of the PC screen, bringing it into a laptop screen. And when I shared all my maps, all my friends are like, this isn't really working because they're using it on their mobile.
Yeah, yeah,
So I've had to work out how to make it visually appealing um, and then workable to have these bike maps and huge stories on a mobile. So that configuration has also been a really good like learning curve because I'm assuming working in council, same thing. The public, if they're going to use this, they're going to be using mobile stuff. So because I've had the personal account, it's in the back of my mind. So when I do the next public facing web app, I'm going to have to do it for the comms guys to look on their laptop, and then I'm going to have to make it beautiful for the
yeah.
yeah, for the mobile users.
Yeah, and that's really quite, taking that different visual side of it. Yeah, because if you're just sitting on a laptop all the time, you go, yeah, it looks fine. But being able to then go, um, you know, and so many things these days, people are looking at them on their mobile. Even if it might be the first step to then go, all right, well, I know I want to go to that site and then look into more detail. But um, it does um, it does make you think, as you said, keep it in the back of your mind that it's not just, big big screens down to laptop screens down to mobile. It's that whole gamut in between. And one of the things I really like, um, you mentioned the personal license, and I certainly um, recommend that to a lot of people when I'm speaking to them about um, keeping up their skills, because often, when you're doing that sort of stuff on your personal license, then there's no conflict of interest, and no one can say, oh, you're using council time or you're using business licensing and all that sort of stuff. You can go. And I think it's pretty smart of Esri to actually have that. It's very cheap, $150 a year or whatever it is. And but yeah, I think it is exactly like what you said. It gives you that ability to play, to develop something quickly, um, and try things out. And even if it is slightly work related, you might go, oh yeah, I'm just going to do it on the weekend and have a look. It gives you that flexibility, I think. So um, it 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 is a great, I think, a great testament to what you've done with those cycling maps, to take your cycling passion and GIS passion and merge them together. So I think that's
Uh,
terrific.
it also makes it easy to do the learning because I'm doing it on something that I'm excited about, something that I want to share. And then I also get excited about sharing maps. So I'm like, you know what, if I put the cycling and the maps together, it means that I'm doing the learning, the sharing, the storytelling, and just getting the technology out there and keeping up to date with all my skills. Like it's a really good motivator to, I guess, have my passion meet my other passion and be able to just get it online and at the same time improve my career.
Yep, nice. And so from that point, where do you see your career? Where do you want to try and take your career from either a technical level or a, type of role, sort of direction? Do you have your thought into the future there, or are you just taking each day as it comes?
I'm currently doing renos. Yeah, so doing renos at the moment, and the council job across the road from my house is like a really good spot to almost like pause and reevaluate everything. So um, I could find a niche here. I could continue training and find a niche somewhere else. Like it's a good job in a good location that allows me to have the flexibility and make the connections. So I'm chatting to people with other councils, also in the like development area. So we're looking at like active transport corridors. So chatting with those people. So I might even do a complete career 360 kind of thing. So who knows? And it's
Yeah.
great.
And And it sort of comes back to almost what I was saying before, the diversity of councils just opens up that, because you've got really small councils and you've got really big councils, and depending where you geographically sit with those other councils, you'll interact with them. Council people, the GIS teams from each of them will talk to each other. The asset management people, and then there'll be the crossover with your stuff and the IT. And so, yeah, I think that's a fair thing to do. Like you said, location is really good at the moment because you're doing those renos, and so yeah, you don't have to travel too far. So that's good.
Yeah. And
Um,
you never know where Esri's gonna go. Like once again, not being paid by Esri, but I've sipped the Kool-Aid. The user conference is in a few weeks, and I can't wait to hear like Jack's projection for the future and yeah, just seeing where I guess Esri wants to take this because literally the sky's the limit at the moment.
yeah, yeah, I do think it's always an interesting time of year. I've never been to the Esri US conference, and but from everyone I've spoken to, well, like I have tuned in a few of the online, but from everyone that I've spoken to, they're huge, and the next level from conferences that are here in Australia and all those sorts of things. So
Yeah.
so yeah, and um, and so have there been any parts of your journey which you would look back and do differently, or you know, approach it in a different way?
Um, yeah, no, kind of. So I enjoy the redundancy because Renaults, but I actually, in hindsight, probably should have started like upskilling and like doing other things sooner because not that I got stuck in a rut, but maybe the last about 5 years, I've been doing a very similar role and kind of just upskilling as the releases came through, but I wasn't doing these like major upskills. So changing jobs has really, I guess, opened me up to just going, hey, there's more out there than just doing like the segment. And then past me, which is future me, the best of luck kind of thing. Metadata, like the amount of times that I wish that I took that 30 seconds just to like even write a sentence. And it's, yeah, now high on my priority list, but I wish it was higher on my priority list earlier because it's amazing how much just doing a sentence or two actually makes others around you do it themselves, or other teams trust you that little bit more. Like you end up being an authoritative person because you can say, yes, this is what the data is, this is what it means. And like having that solid data governance earlier would have made it I guess, easier habit.
Yeah, I agree 100% on that. I've certainly done. I did a big project for New South Wales government on in and around their metadata, and they were almost trying to force people to do it, and because it was a side of things that when they were getting and this day and age, with the sharing of data, as I mentioned earlier, being more open. When you get a data set and you have no idea why it was created or why the attributes are there, and then people just assume things, and then you're assuming the wrong things, and so yeah, that's a very good piece of advice. I think get into metadata earlier, even though it's probably one of the boring parts about GIS. So
Oh, but a sentence or two is all it takes. And if you
yeah,
really want to zhuzh it up,
yeah,
Copilot, like get your AI writing for you. Put a few
yeah.
key phrases in and say, make this sound like metadata, and it spits it out for you.
Nice. Yeah, well, I like that advice as well. Well, that has been terrific. That's half an hour has flown by already. So what I wanted to do, if you were happy with where we're at, if any of our online um, attendees have any questions they would like to ask, you can either type them into the chat or just take yourself off mute and ask away, either questions for myself or questions for Lizanne. If you have any, Alex or Christine, appreciate you coming. If you got a question, then that'd be great.
Then have you considered learning QGIS, or have you used it?
It's on my list of things to do.
Right.
I've been Esri my entire life, and
Okay, yeah.
yeah, it's every now and then I get a question about it, and I'm like,
It's actually,
and
as Dean was saying, it's relatively straightforward because principles of GIS are pretty much the same across different platforms.
yeah,
Yeah.
oh no, it's definitely. I've been told that it's easy, but
Yeah.
everything's the same but slightly different. But yeah,
It just
it's
takes a
not
little
something
while
I've
to pick it
done.
up, but there's
Yeah.
more clicks involved sometimes. But yeah, I was just finished off with Campbelltown Council a few months ago, and I was forced to using it there. But it's good,
And I think that forced part is probably a good analogy, because what you tend to find is smaller councils don't have huge budgets, and
That's
so
exactly
they're
right.
always looking for ways to save money. And unfortunately, a lot of times the GIS team or software or licensing is part of that equation,
Yeah.
and therefore, and people go, "Oh, well, why don't we use QGIS?" And I'm like, I use it quite regularly for different projects, but I think it's using the tools that are appropriate where you have that option. Because obviously, if you're working for an organization and they go, all right, you're only using this, then that's what you use.
Yeah.
But sometimes QGIS will have some plugins that the Esri stuff doesn't.
That's right.
So yeah, it's good to. I think at the end of the day, it's good to just keep learning, and
Yeah,
whether that's
that's right.
in QGIS, or as Lizanne was saying, looking at Python, looking at the way model builders work. I'm doing FME at the moment. Looking
Nice.
at
Yeah.
um, looking at, how different transformers work, or, it's all about just continued learning, I think. So.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know. I'm just about to start getting to FME, I think. So my manager's got me to write a thing with the Python debugging that I've been doing. And he's like, let's compare it with FME. And I'm like, ooh, another new thing. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's really always about like learning new stuff and being excited about learning the new stuff.
Yeah. And I do think that's I think that's the core is um, wanting to learn, and not everyone is enthusiastic about learning new things, but I do think it's important to be constantly wanting to, if you can, if you get the opportunity, because it may just be you're doing that project and go, oh, we could use this tool because it could help us in that area. So
Yeah, that's one of the things about, constantly learning. And I've been using GIS since the mid-80s, last century. And I've been in multiple projects, but not constantly. I went and moved into the asset management field using Maximo for about 15 or 20 years, and then jobs come and go, but you've got your basic building blocks of different skills that you have, and you're constantly learning as you're going. I think and a lot of GIS people tend to have that flexibility of wanting to learn and upskill, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. Oh, it's I guess the opposite end of the spectrum. Like you end up with some of the, hate to say it, older guys who just do the cartography side. Like they love their PDF maps, they love the cartography. They're whizzes at symbology and like labels and all that stuff. But I didn't want to fall into that. Like I love the cartography. It's just another cartographer.
Yeah. I used to do that before GIS came into being.
Yeah.
I'm dating myself, but anyway. Yeah.
Nice. Thank you, Alex. Do you have any other questions, or
So no, I was going to ask Lizanne, so where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? I'm doing the job interview kind of thing, but anyway,
Next 5 years, I'll probably be done the major renos. The kitchen might be either started or finished. So my 5-year plan is the kitchen.
Right.
Besides that, so I've recently retired from the track cycling, so I want to get more into mountain biking. So
Nice.
planning on, buying myself a mountain bike and doing a bit of that. And
right.
Yeah, a little bit more bike packing. I'm still going to be working a job, preferably with the mapping because it is what I do enjoy doing. But yeah, don't quite have a 5-year plan yet.
No, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the best for that.
Christine, do you have a question?
Yeah, I do actually. Yeah, I was actually taking notes earlier. This is really helpful actually for me to just hear your career journey, Lizanne, as well as just hear your journey, through the years. I'm a bit newer in the industry, and so I'm learning and picking things up. This question is, I guess, not directly related to your GIS career, but more on the lines of what is it like to move from Canada to Australia? I'm asking because I'm actually Canadian myself, and I was interested in moving around, So yeah, just what's it like for you?
It's basically the same country. Like Canada and Australia, like culturally, they're so similar. Canada is, I guess, snow and skiing, where Australia is sand and surf. Like it's the same sort of culture. Like you go to the beach out here instead of going to the snowfields. And making friends I joined the surf club, I joined the swimming club, like I joined the cycling club. Like I was into sports when I was in Canada, so I basically moved to Australia and I got into sports. And everyone's just like really laid back. Yeah, incredibly friendly. And yeah, it was a very easy move.
Yeah, and you haven't gone back since, you said. You've been out in Australia since 18?
Yeah, so I haven't lived at home since. So I've visited a few times. Like when I was doing a lot of the cycling, I used to go home for Canadian Nationals once a year, and then stick
Yeah.
around for a few weeks to visit my mom, my dad, my sisters, and
Ah,
yeah.
where's
So
home in Canada?
um, various. So I grew up in Brampton. So I grew up in Brampton, but my dad lives in Toronto. My mom's in Kelowna. My sister's in
Oh,
Canmore, and the other sister's in um oh Onano. It's
no,
an hour
I
and a
know.
half north of Brandon, Manitoba.
That's all around the country.
Yeah.
Hit like half the provinces in Canada. Yeah.
Would you guys like a
That's,
map?
I was going to say, yeah, that's why you need a good map.
Yeah.
That's a lot of provinces that your family lives.
Yeah, so when I'm over there, I travel around, and it's usually, yeah, a bit of a trip. And every now and then they come out here, and the world is so small these days, so it's easy to jump on a plane and just see people. And just like this, the Teams meetings, it's easy enough to, yeah, have a chat and say hi to everyone. And it's moving isn't as hard as I think it used to be.
Did you find the visa process easy, or was it just time consuming more than anything?
The initial like student visa, because I was a student, like
Right.
they hand those out like lollipops.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the student visa was easy. And then getting permanent residency was the hard one. So even though I studied in Australia, I had a degree out here. I had work experience. Um, Australia at the time didn't need soil scientists. So yeah, I really struggled to get the points. Like I had to sit the English test. I had to, yeah, I didn't need to get sponsored. So I did have enough to actually do it independently, but the just sourcing everything and getting the experience and being able to stay in the country was actually a difficult process.
Mm.
That's good to know, because I probably get those sorts of questions quite regularly from people wanting to come to Australia, and um, I've probably got enough knowledge now about the different visas here and there, but it's still an individual thing, on what points you can get for what, and you sort of almost go, why would you need to do an English test when you're coming from an English country? Some of those regulations seem to be a
Oh, it
bit
got me an extra
weird.
10 points though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Interesting.
But yeah, do you recommend Australia? It's,
Yeah, okay.
I was going to say it's freezing in Sydney today. Like I think it's only going to get up to about 20 degrees.
That's freezing. That's quite
I
warm.
know. I know. I think the maximum over the weekend is maybe 15, but yeah, no, I know what you mean. I haven't worn a jacket to work yet.
I guess it's winter on your end, eh?
Yeah.
Ah, and then I think Dean is in Tasmania, is that right?
I think today our high is going to be 12.
A bit
So
colder over there as well.
it's
And how
certainly
about
nothing
you,
like
Alex?
Canada, though. We don't get
Yeah.
those super negatives. So
Yeah, I'm actually from Vancouver, so it's not, our climate is a bit milder than the rest of the country. Yeah, but I am currently in Thailand. so it's hot. Yeah, it's hot, it's humid, it's rainy season right now, so I'm getting like sporadic rains, but yeah. And I'm also a bit closer to time zone. Yeah, to
Yeah.
Australian time zone. Yeah, I've actually never been to Australia before, so I've been curious about visiting sometime in the near future. So I'm just asking these questions related to like Australia versus Canada because like I'm a Canadian myself, so yeah, there's that connection there. Yeah.
all right. We're pretty well close to the end. If unless anyone has any last questions, we can wrap it up there.
I just have one more quick question.
Yep, go for it.
Where do you see, and this is open for everybody because you all seem to have more experience than I do, and where do you see GIS, the world of geospatial, evolving into in the future? Like, because Lizanne, you mentioned like this kind of transition from like static maps, like PDF maps to web maps. Do you see GIS evolving in other ways as well?
Definitely interactive web maps, like having people to actually be able to, so experience builders is probably the best example. So the 2D, the 3D, the being able to actually like get a map and then really dive into the data and being able to present the data in a way that people can dive into it and actually get the real meaning is going to be, I guess, the challenge for GIS people.
And that probably goes, there's a lot happening in that space with the whole, all the digital twins and all that sort of stuff. So you can then, go to a university campus and then go into the building and then go on each of the floors and then go, whatever it happens to be. But at the end of it, it is that data. It's like, as long as the data is good and you've got that geographic location, then you can visualize it and put it all together. But yeah, I do think that whole people want to be able to see and get answers really quickly. So I agree 100% with Lizanne in terms of, that whole interactive web maps forming a really core part of some of those decision-making processes.
I see. I see.
One thing that I've been looking at recently is the discussion between GIS and AI. So a lot of companies are now wanting to delve into that. But
Is that still Esri has made available?
Again?
Like AI integration into Esri tools? I'm just asking. Yeah.
I think there is, and it's certainly becoming more and more integrated in different parts. My take on AI is like a lot of software have embedded AI to make finding things easier, in like a more interactive help document, so to speak. But it's still going to need people who understand what that data is, what the results are, and whether those results are valid. Because it's like if you're just throwing garbage in and expecting AI to do this whole lot of cleanup and then hoping that the result is going to be good, then you'll end up with all of this errors all over the place. And so I do think, certainly the short to medium term, the GIS professional is really going to be the crux to making sure that data coming out the other end, even if you're using where you're using AI in the process, to make sure that the information coming out is valid. So.
Yeah. The best way to actually test it and learn it. Esri does the MOOCs, so the mass online. I did it, I think, last year. They have an AI one where it does have the AI bit, but it teaches you how to like teach the software how to actually do the analysis. So it shows you that the AI exists, but I think it was a bushfire one that they used the Vancouver or the BC data or something. Oh, it might not have been a MOOC.
Oh, okay, because I've done a couple of MOOCs already, and
No, Esri Australia has that course, or not Esri Australia, Esri Canada.
Really?
Yeah, so Esri Canada had one that I did probably just after Christmas, and it showed you how to use the AI tools. And I'll
Canada. Okay.
put it in the chat.
I didn't know Esri Canada had their own MOOC courses. I'm following one that is available internationally. Yeah, so let me just look into Esri Canada because I'm interested in what you just mentioned.
Yeah, because they had a decent tutorial. But yeah, I will chuck it in. Actually, if you put your email in the chat, I'll send you the course.
Yeah, that would be really helpful.
Yeah.
Let me just type my email into the chat. the MOOCs from Esri are actually great resources.
Yeah, I love doing the MOOCs.
Yes, yes, and I know it's a great way to like even just use Esri free of charge. They're like making their programs available publicly during the MOOC course, which I didn't realize at the time, and because I already had the Esri suite downloaded.
Yeah.
And they're making new courses as well. Like I pulled this up last month for a friend who was interested in Esri and GIS, and I found a couple of new courses. So it's a great
Yeah,
resource.
no, I'm always on there checking out the new ones and doing the updated ones. So this is continuing learning.
Yeah,
Oh,
perfect.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, when I find the course, I'll send it to you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you
Yeah.
for that. I really appreciate that. Yeah.
Very good.
Well, we might wrap it up there. I do appreciate your time, everyone, especially Lizanne telling us about your career and cycling and all that interaction with GIS. It's been very good. So thank you, everyone. Next week, we've got someone who's taken the leap and running her own business. She started out as a journalist, then got into journalism around data, and now she does data around GIS. So tune in for that. I think that could be quite an interesting, because it's a very different, and that's what I'm really enjoying about each of these. Each of these is that the people that have been gracious with their time all have different stories, and that's the point. So thank you everyone again for tuning in, and I'll put the recording up if you need to check on anything, and catch you around at any of the next ones. But feel free to drop me a line anytime if you have any questions. All right.
Thanks, Dean. Much
Bye for now,
appreciated.
everyone.
Thank
Take
you.
care. Okay.
Thank
Bye,
you.
guys.
Yeah.
Have a good
Bye-bye.
one. Good afternoon or good night.